for Planet Green.
We have launched.
We've completely launched. We've started the show, and it is Planet Green Trees. We're about to embark 2 hours of medical marijuana and marijuana reform in Michigan.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, the Planet Green Trees show is underway with your host, attorney Michael Komorn.
Dick and Jane, is that all right? All righty.
We have launched.
Welcome, everybody. Planet Green Trees. Last show of the year, I'm going to say. Yeah, that's how it's going to be. Episode 543. We had a lot of episodes this year.
We did.
We're calling it Glass-Tipped Blunts Changed My Life. Mm-hmm. Maybe later on we'll describe where that came from. But welcome. I'm Michael Komorn, your host, Komorn Law PLC. And we're about to do 2 hours, if we can hang out that long, of talk, cannabis, all things surrounding that. And we got a great group of people here to discuss. A lot of good topics. Let's do this. Let's go around the room. What am I going to introduce? These are the things we're going to talk about tonight. I made Rant in a little while. We're going to get back into this moldy, contaminated marijuana issue that seems to be continuing to plague the
don't smoke the moldy marijuana
regulated market.
No.
We have an update on recreational marijuana. Could be on the horizon in Florida.
Oh boy.
The MMMP is to print pictures on medical marijuana registry cards.
Yeah.
Richard Clement's 12-year fight to have that done finally accomplished. He's cleared the summit. And 10 ideas to make Michigan government more transparent and responsive.
Oh, I can't wait to hear those.
And as a disclaimer, we may not cover any of those topics depending on what comes up as we begin the show here.
We almost certainly won't cover
Probably not.
Most of them.
Probably not. Let's introduce everyone here. Is there? I don't have the. I got to get back to the Zoom, but I see it. We've got the Bunker Boys, who are Tommy, Justin, and Dan. Was Justin warming up to play some live music? Was that what he was doing earlier?
Yeah, he's going to be playing some live music here shortly.
Okay.
Justin, you're going to play some live music shortly. All right. He said he's good to go. So.
All right. Find out what songs he's playing.
What song are you playing? Oh, I'll pick one. He said I can pick one.
All right, so we got that going on. And then we got, of course, Jim Powers of Michigan Parents for Compassion. He's ready to rock it tonight. He's got some in his hand.
I do have this piece of paper.
Okay.
It has the topics on it. It also has some various show information.
Okay. All right.
So it's important to have that to reference. But good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. Excited for the show tonight.
All right. I'm going to call you guys fun with Dick and Jane over here. Thanks for joining us. Guest in the studio to add to commentary when feeling like it. I can't see the Zoom. Are there people in the Zoom?
Thank you.
Okay, good. Where's
Justin? Why is there no one in the Zoom?
Where's our Amanda? I mean, we have a Florida story, and
it's Justin's fault.
There we go. Okay, it's fine. It's all good. So I guess where's Steve Miller? Steve Miller's watching a hockey game. Is that what I understand? It's fine.
He'll be in shortly.
Okay, all right, fine.
We could get Dirty Dan in here.
We could get Dan in here. He's involved with all things here at Komorn Law, so he should be in it. All right, so here you go. This is Oh, by the way, so let me do it. So yesterday I had the honor of being on this. I'm not going to mention it correctly, but Ryan Bassler and his Redemption Cannabis had a podcast / orgy telethon thing. It was like four.
Did you say orgy?
I don't know. It was like the four podcasters involved with it, and they had different topics and discussions. And this came up a little bit, but they weren't really looking to discuss this in great detail. Nobody was really aware of the concepts that I was bringing up. I haven't let the one lab person that had come up to promote their lab pass without asking the question. First of all, I'm saying this because I want everyone to tune in and watch it. It was interesting. It was Ryan Bassler and his Smoke and Rope podcast. There's a lot of industry leaders and whatnot that were kind of supportive of Ryan and contributed. They raised a lot of money, and they talked a lot about Ryan's projects of leaving none of the prisoners behind and helping them, those that are still incarcerated for cannabis, etc. But I didn't get a chance to really get into this. I don't know if anyone was watching last night, but this is what's going on. So we know that these Verities Lab had a recall issued for 3 months of flour that they had tested.
And other things.
But that was the main issue, and that was the main complaint. And the recall came, and I'm just going to use these dates. These are not the actual dates, but I'm just going to use them for references. Like the first of the month, the recall comes out. Mm-hmm. So the recall happens, and the cannabis is being sent back and recalled to the lab, to that lab. And they began to retest it to try to say that, it's a mistake, or, we'll do another test, and if it passes, then we've... So they begin testing it. Week goes by, a couple more days, and we get to 10 days. They, as we all know, Verities filed a injunction against the state saying that you can't recall this, and we want to enjoin you or prevent you from recalling this.
Right.
Matter lasts for a couple days. So we're into like 13, 14 days, and the judge issues an opinion which says there are 2 labs that was producing or testing cannabis over this 3-month period of time. I'm going to split the baby. He didn't say it like that. He said, this lab...
Bay City.
One of the lab, which I don't know which one it was.
Bay City was the one that...
Was enjoined?
Right.
So the recall to the Bay City lab was enjoined, saying that the cannabis that was recalled there to that lab, because it had not passed testing originally, could now be released to the public and back on the shelves.
Right.
The other lab, which is in Lansing, I recall, the injunction didn't apply there, and that had to be recalled. So what happened is, from the December 1st date, or the 1st of the month, whatever day it was, to the 13th, 14th, or 15th, when the order came out saying that the Bay City lab, the recall for the Bay City lab was enjoined, the lab had retested most, if not all, of the material. And it turned out that, I think it's 40% of the retest failed.
No, it wasn't that high. It was lower than that. But it was significant.
All right. Let's get it up here. You may be, I think maybe 20, 40. But
it was a significant amount that when they retested, it failed. But that being said, I would be interested to hear the whole story, because
I'm telling you the whole story. It's in this article, and I want to explain a little bit more.
No, as far as how the recall was initiated, we still haven't really heard all the facts from the MRA or their investigation, and I'm interested to hear some facts as opposed to just kind of, observing what's happening and not really understanding why.
What was this? This is so the point I'm trying to make is that you have this circumstance where the legal ruling as to the Bay City lab said they don't have to comply with the recall.
Right.
And they're allowed to release the cannabis. But it is known by the lab, and it is known by the MRA, that some, whatever percentages, if it's 20%, 40%, has not passed testing. Mm-hmm. And it was going to be sent to the shelves with a label on it that it had conformed with the rules of the MRA, and they were guaranteed a certain type of product, when the lab and the MRA knew that it would not be such. So now they've, and I'm going to tell you that on the optics are that the MRA went to the Court of Claims seeking relief here because it's difficult for them to do, would it make like could the MRA really do that? Could they say, okay, so we're going to comply with the order, the lab has 100 pounds of marijuana that they've tested, and 35 pounds of it, when they retested it, didn't pass. But because the court order says that recall is no longer valid, they're going to let 100 pounds go, knowing that 35 pounds of it didn't pass retesting. That's the scenario that they're being faced. What's that look? What do you mean? I mean, is that not a big deal?
I mean, it is a big deal.
Why is it a big deal?
Because the right thing to do would be, if there's a problem, that you have to continue to investigate. But I think the issue becomes that you have a business that's very interested in mitigating the massive amount of damage that's about to be done to them as a result of this recall, and they're fighting it tooth and nail. But even if it was 20%, that's significant. Everything should be retested at that point.
So here, so what I'm saying, though, is that the court order enjoined the MRA from enforcing the recall as to Verdi's North licenses, and they're permitted to sell or transfer those specific products. The agency said in an email sent to the businesses, this includes products currently at sales locations. So that was the court order, but there's all this other information afterwards that determined that some of that product had not passed testing. I'm saying it's a problem because this. I asked that question. I don't know if you answered it like I wanted you to. You give it, but it was something like this, that the whole premise of this testing is supposed to be the cornerstone of the regulated market.
Yep.
It is the coup d'etat of the regulated industry. The state who's making tax dollars and requiring all this regulatory, energy and capital to be spent.
And the testing is the whole reason why.
And the testing is what, independent of all those things that have to take place anyways, the testing is the cornerstone that brings it all together. In order for you to get to the place where you can interact, you got to pass testing.
Yep.
A lot of weight has been put on the concept of testing. It's been used even as a basis to try to eliminate caregivers, that they're unsafe and that the testing is the only way to go. And if the position that it appears to be right now is that the scenario that's unfolded from this, the biggest lab scandal or lab recall in the country, right? $400 million worth of, $200 million, 3 months of, close to 100 pounds of marijuana, close to.
Yeah.
And what comes out, there's so many different aspects of the regulated industry that are impacted, right? You've got the totally biased commercial damage that's done. You got lots of dollars, commodities that are held up that aren't getting moved, right? You got lab and business, like their brand has been damaged, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions now about the MRA and what is their true authority if when they speak and do a recall, the business can take them to court and say, you can't judge us, and get a judge to go along with that. Okay? There's so many things that came out of this as called shrapnel damage or
Yeah, but you know just as well as I do that in order to get a preliminary injunction like this, the bar you have to meet in court is pretty astronomical, and that the fact that they granted it against Lansing means that the court felt that based on the merits of the case as presented to them, that there was a very high likelihood that they would win against the MRA, and that's why they gave them the injunction. And what they probably looked at is they didn't have the same level of evidence or argument against the lab in Bay City.
I don't think, okay, so I agree with you. And when they write the opinion granting an injunction, the court will oftentimes quote a case that says it is a remarkable remedy in the law.
Mm-hmm.
And it is premised on, there's 4 prongs, but one of them is that you're likely to prevail on the merits. Have you had a trial? When it's an emergency injunction, or emergency preliminary injunction. But the point I'm trying to make here, so the idea is that the MRA was likely to lose if there was a full fact hearing, and minimizing their, not just authority, but their expertise in the area. Like they seemingly said it was blue and the court disagreed and said it was something else. And they missed their analysis of it. I mean, I'm not saying that, but as an
Well, no, I mean it's clear to me what I mean.
Well, listen.
I could be wrong, but I mean, they sanctioned the license holder and they felt that it would apply to both facilities, and the court said no. And it's my understanding that the investigation specifically was for the Lansing facility, and maybe that's wrong. Maybe I don't understand that correctly. But if that's the case, then it would seem logical to me that the court would say, well, wait a second, this doesn't really seem fair. If you have evidence against the Bay City facility, then let's see it. And if you don't, then let's allow them to operate that facility while we figure out what's going on in Lansing.
They kept the recall at Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It's a good question. I know. I saw. I don't know if that's. I don't know what the logic. I know. I have the opinion. I can pull it up and read it, and we're going to do that in a second. But let me say this: the point of a lot of this is that, one, they were able to fight back. I mean, there's some remarkable things that took place at the hearing, which I think are worthwhile discussing. One is that the former, the lab, of course, is known as the COP lab. They've got both the former head of the Forensic Science Division, and they also have Michelle Glynn, who was the director, I believe, of the Toxicology Department,
right,
who took over after this Felix Hadatzi had left. I've had her on the stand in some cases before. She is a owner of Riddy's lab. She was the first witness that was called in the case. She was qualified as an expert. She is the owner of the lab. She's a party to the action.
Yeah, you can't be an expert.
Nobody said boo. Okay, and then after they qualified her as an expert, and they ran through the questions of the testing, and the question, we should cue it up. There's a question that's asked her: do you think that the MRA is qualified to evaluate and make these decisions? And she said, my professional opinion is no. Jim, Jim, I can cue it up for you. Can we do that? Seriously, it is.
Yeah, we'll cue it up.
So that is some of what took place. So, and understand this, just to make this other point, one of the other things that there was a lot of, so the MRA later called the equivalent of that operator for them.
Yeah.
She works for the MRA. It's not like its own science division, but she's the one that oversees the labs, collects data, in charge, I think, of, and then they report back to the higher up, which are not equivalent scientists. They may have someone else, but it all goes over to the administrative side, right?
Sure.
So there was a pattern of what they were doing, which was they were not keeping their logs.
Yeah, they're not supposed to do that.
They're not supposed to keep their logs.
I did read about that.
So they weren't keeping their logs. They weren't expressing the time frames that they were doing the test for, which is the period of time, Jim, that they're allowing the cultures to be exposed to light to grow. See what I'm saying? So they're not. So it means like, okay, we did the test for mold. What's going on?
I'm listening, but Amanda can't hear us. Justin, Amanda can't hear us. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Michael. Sorry to interrupt.
Was it working? I don't know. If it's not working, which is
Amanda, can you hear us? Okay.
It could be her. Is it?
All right. Well, Justin's gonna figure it out, and quickly. But go ahead. Continue.
So I wasn't sure what the heck was going on,
Is it working or not working? Nothing?
Are you there, Amanda?
Yeah, now I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
good.
here.
All right, there we go.
Does that mean it's working? That may not mean it's working.
It's working. I can hear both of you
okay.
perfectly,
All
crystal clear.
Thank God.
Crystal clear. We need to get some links or anything? Are we live and rolling? I'm coming in hot.
I see you live.
I don't know
I'm
what
looking
the
at you
hell's
live right
going
now.
on.
I'm looking at you live.
Well, I want to hear about Jimmy's glass tip blunts. That's what I'm talking about. How is that such a game changer? What is going on?
Jimmy,
you gotta see it to believe it, Amanda. You really gotta see it to believe it.
Well, I think it's already gone, Jimmy.
Is it just a tip?
It's just the tip.
Well, just the tip. Okay, who said that so I know how to respond appropriately?
That's funny.
No, but yeah, well, sorry for coming in late and disrupting everything, you guys, but I'm glad I'm here. And I understand there's some kind of gala going on. Oh, Speaking of which,
What?
what in the world? He's all dressed up, and this time he's got somewhere to go.
Oh, there he is.
I can't see him. I really see him.
Okay, I'm being too loud. That's what my kids say. Take it down a few notches, Vavoom.
All right. I'm going to send our guest the link here.
Which guest?
Mr.
Who?
Gunnels
Okay.
was asking me for the link.
All right.
I just shot it to him.
Okay, great. I was just not at my computer, so I don't
Jamie,
know.
can Jamie hear us?
Yeah, I'll walk around and show you some of the people who are here, but it's really loud out there, so I'll keep it muted.
You're very dapper tonight.
He's at a gala.
Well, it's a gala.
I know that means dapper. Gala equals dapper, right? We need to have one of those. Well, not really, because it's kind of cold. So, wow, look at that. Okay, let's see how we're pulling off these elegant. There's base. Hi. Hey, Mr. Redemption Foundation. Oh boy, there are a lot of people there. Oh, what's that crispy cold beverage? Non-alcoholic brewskis, I'm sure, or adult juice boxes.
Jamie, when we started the show, I uncharacteristically remembered to discuss some of the events that occurred yesterday. I gave some props out to the Smoke and Rope, and just so you know.
Yeah, Michael, you were on a telethon yesterday, right?
I was.
So, what was that all about? And for folks that didn't get a chance to really dial in or see what was going on there.
It was a fundraiser for Ryan's special foundation, and they'd raised a lot of money before we even got to the airtime. And he had a number of people come on that were part of the industry and people that he interacts with and have been supporting him for a long time. And they have made donations and whatnot. And there was a huge, 2 hours plus of industry players and actions that came and discussed their various skill sets. And Tom...
From Real Leaf?
Real Leaf, Tom Beller was there, and of course we had...
There you go. Merry Christmas.
Santa! You know what we all want. Size 420.
Glass tips.
Jamie, what's the location of that party?
The Radisson Hotel in Lansing, downtown Lansing. Harry Brock, Jamie Cooper, Planet Green Trees.
All right.
Gotta look good to feel good, you guys. Tonight you're looking good. Okay.
Ida Pearlie, Planet
Nice
Green Trees.
hair. I like your new hairdo.
She was on last night. I think this is it's a Michigan Cannabis Industry Association event.
Yeah.
Jim Salame on vocals.
You're kidding. Well, who knew?
Yeah. Woo. Perfect.
That is something else.
That's cool. Good
Yeah,
Christmas
it looks
party
like
thing.
a lot of fun. Yeah. Hello, Robin.
What was that?
Robin Schneider, Planet Green Trees.
Ida and Robin, the dynamic duo. Okay, well, cool.
I think Robin ran away when she heard it was Planet Green Trees. I could have been wrong.
She did.
She might have. If she...
I mean, wouldn't you?
Jamie, I hope you announced it to her, right? What you didn't say it was Medical Mondays or something like that, did you? Because I don't think that.
Yeah.
Maybe she was confused.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about...
Rick Thompson, Planet Green Trees.
Rick.
What up, Rick?
Happy holidays, Rick. Merry
Robin
Christmas.
again.
Why is Robin running? Seriously, does she think it's Medical Mondays? Make sure why does she think it's Medical Mondays? It's not. It's Planet Green Trees. Come on, seriously. Now I want to talk to her. Get her back here. Seriously, track her down, stalk her a little bit, Jamie. Seriously.
Jamie, Planet Green Trees. This is Jamie Taylor, a marketing director.
Of course.
At, Botanical Company.
Of course. She's the best. The best.
Like Komorn, Amanda.
We seem really desperate.
Drivers
We seem like we're really desperate.
Planet
Like we're
Green
invited.
Trees.
We have to listen.
Driven Grow.
Right.
Driven Grow. If you haven't had.
Hello. How are you? Yeah.
Amanda saying, how are you?
Good smoke. Thank you.
Jamie, I need you to identify where Robin is and walk over to her. And even if she runs away, just keep following her. Now I feel like I need to talk to her. Find out why she's.
Robin split.
I know. Why is that? Seriously, what is going on?
I don't know, Michael.
Okay.
I don't really know what's going on. I feel like we are on the outside looking in to a degree.
I don't know who Jamie's trying to create that. We'll see.
Yeah, what's up, Jamie? Why didn't we get invitations, first of all?
It's not special.
Well, it's not, but wouldn't you like to wear, I would like to, I was just actually saying probably not, because it is kind of cold,
Chris Silva?
Where are you going to wear your
Planet Green Trees.
stuff?
All right.
But I'll tell you what, I don't see a cannabis joint being consumed there. Do you, Michael?
No, you know what I see?
I walked out of the parking lot. We could see that.
Okay. All right. Well, we just want to see. Hi, Francie.
Planet Green Trees. Everybody say hi.
How are you?
Nate Darling. Put on the telethon yesterday.
Nate.
Planet Green Trees.
Nate, come on. Seriously, Nate. Nate, I get like 20 minutes of you right now. Come on, Nate.
Appreciate your help and I had the opportunity to work with an amazing team, and we're very fortunate to be able to raise $24,000 for the Redemption Foundation and supporting groups. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Did you hear him?
Thank you.
We did. He's the only one.
That was excellent.
I got to catch up with Michael.
All right, thank you, man.
Everybody, have a wonderful night.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
I really get about 30 minutes back from him from last night. That's the trade-off. No, I'm kidding.
Richard Sarfo in the house.
Richard.
Planet Green Trees.
Richard.
Come on, Richard. Richard's like
How
family.
are you? Crazy fingers.
So
Richard's been on the show.
I'm
Richard.
seeing like a psilocybin smirk on his face right now. No.
That's why I say crazy fingers.
No. It's not happening. It's not true. Not your little cannabis, maybe.
Well, yeah, he might have just eaten a different kind of edible. Who knows?
Maybe. Possibly.
I am observing one of the major problems with this party, which is that it's supposed to be formal, but not everyone is being serious about being formal. You notice that there's a lot of disparity in the formality of the.
Some people are too cool to play the game.
Cool,
Here's
right?
Kyle Miller.
All right, Kyle.
Kyle Miller.
Hey.
Planet Green Trees.
Planet Green Trees. Hell yeah.
So, anybody who used to play in a band with a heavy metal band with Billy Strings?
Wow.
Pretty sure that was me.
Yeah. So Kyle's got that going for him, on top of like opening up store and a grow and all types of shit like that.
Oh, just in a spare time.
Planet Green Trees.
Yeah, hanging out by the restroom, taking pictures of people.
Yes, exactly. A lot of genitalia.
Oh my.
All right. Hey, an exposure of somebody's mind there.
Yeah.
Exposure of.
I don't know, but we're gonna take a break.
Wellflower. Planet Green Trees TV.
Yeah.
Jamie, will you go talk to Robin? Find Robin, seriously.
Blooming Botanicals. I do not see her anywhere. She's split.
Is there a lot of alcohol being served there, Jamie? Is there a real alcohol?
There
there?
is. Oh, yeah.
Certainly looks
Cat,
like it.
Formerly of SSDP, now with MICIA. Oh, still with SSDP. Okay. All you guys?
Very cool.
Planet Green Trees. Najanava.
They're taking it more serious. They're taking
Well,
more.
hey,
Much more serious.
Planet Green Trees.
You guys get credit for the
Planet Green Trees TV
taking
with
serious
Michael Komorn.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
They're into the formality thing. All right. Good.
Yeah.
And Santa again.
I could have done like a a sarcastic Mike
Sorry.
episode of this where I'd be like commenting differently.
You should.
I mean, yeah.
Let's do it again.
Here are all the great sponsors. Oh, hey, as I was walking toward it, here's Francie again, and guess who this is?
Oh.
Planet Green Trees.
So
2 days in a row,
Michael, say
Josie.
hi.
Missy, the house. Hello.
Labs.
Yes, of
Can,
course.
Michael say
Amber. Yay.
So Josie,
Josie, we got a question for you.
so you've been in the industry for a very long time as Sons and Daughters United, correct?
You've been in the industry.
She's got a whole
Forever.
Hold on.
Hold on, I can't hear. Right now? Yeah. I don't know.
No, ask it again so she can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I was just going to tell you that it's good to see you and your family being healthy and in the industry again, and have a good time tonight.
Oh, we came back. Our path to redemption, right? We are redeemed.
That's right.
I'm so happy.
Come
Thank
full
you so much.
circle.
On top of the 24 raised last night, Sons and Daughters got an additional
1,000 in direct donations. People just like
Very cool.
thought they were the shit. Donated instantly. It was amazing. That's awesome.
ACT Labs is going to be helping out with Great Lakes Expungement Network. Of course, Francie reps some of the best products that there are
Light Sky Farms.
in the state. Light Sky
best
Farms
in
with
the
Shannon.
10 out of 10.
But we don't have this right here in this building right now.
It's not going on.
Listen.
This is not going on.
We haven't seen it.
It's not illegal.
Missy, Planet Green Trees. All right, I'm not sure what. Not much else to expose here of any interest.
No more genitalia, huh?
Yeah, I was waiting for the
I could
exposure.
seek some out. Actually.
That's
I
why
may
I'm
have
here.
to spend a
I'm
couple
here for
hours
the
behind
exposure.
bars trying to explain myself.
At least find out why Robin. At least find out why Robin doesn't want to talk. I'm still disturbed by that. Are you staying around, or are you gonna go? You should hang out. We were talking about the
I'm
last
leaving.
one.
I'm gonna go outside and smoke a joint and
All right.
drive home and shit like that.
Oh, it's over.
No. I mean, what time is it here? It's 8:30. It's technically got another half hour. There's an open bar and people are networking out there and
Yeah.
having a good time. So I'm sure
All right.
they'll fill in that half hour.
All right.
Sweet.
That's fun. Was there
We
any
got
kind of
some,
were there speeches and stuff, or like
Yeah,
talking?
there were. It was very good. We got some coffee here. You know the stuff. Rick and I have done these conferences here a few times, and this coffee's like something like $50 a gallon or something like that. Stupid. So I like to waste it.
All right. On that note, we have to take a break.
Oh, let's take a break.
Yeah.
You're listening to Planet Green Trees.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
When you're charged with a crime, you need a real attorney. And here's just a few reasons why. The police, the courts, the labs, the drug tests, probation, the judges, the jails, the prisons, and the entire system is just one big machine. They have one objective. Take your freedom, take your possessions, take your money, take your children, control your life, and destroy your future. You only get one chance to hire the right attorney. One that will stay in your corner. One that will fight for your rights. One that will fight for your freedom. Choose an attorney that's experienced in fighting the justice machine. Attorney Michael Komorn. Knockout victories one case at a time. Komorn Law. Google it. komornlaw.com.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
This is for those two wonderful couples that have been out here the whole time. Thank you guys very much. You're wonderful. I look forward to seeing you all next year. We are the Fox and the Fiddle. Thank you, everybody. Well, I set out after 25 years of hanging out and drinking beers. Finding a life of my own out on the road. And the way we think life ought to be, all ain't the way now. As you can see, ours seems to be a lot less love to go around. Trying to get from where you are or where you want to be. Keep on believing, soon you'll see it. Everything you wanted, that's how you live a dream. Fall right into your lap, and sometimes things happen just like that. Never mind things thinking you. All you gotta do is, all you gotta do is, is believe. Well, I'm bearded man now in Timbuktu, and you look to me, told me the truth, so be thankful for this life that you've been given. You see them times the top and the chips of town, I remember you can turn the whole thing around, so be thankful for this life that you live on. Try to get from where you are or where you wanna be. Only by soon you'll see it. Everything you wanted, that's how you live a dream. Fall right into your lap, sometimes things happen just like that. Never mind things thinking. All you gotta do is, all you gotta do is, all you gotta do is just like that. Never mind the things that think of me. All you gotta do is, all you gotta do is, all you gotta do is believe. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The fiddle, be good and kind to one another. Tell someone that you love them. Pick someone up when they're feeling down. Always look before you leave. Remember, most importantly, we love you. We're the Fox and the Fiddle. We'll see you next year. Miss Emily Joy. Oh yeah, I'm Austin Scott. Thanks everybody. Have a wonderful day. Oh yeah, we're doing it. Thanks, everybody.
An important and historical farm crop in American agriculture is returned after having been classified as a controlled substance and illegal. On December 20th, 2018, the President signed the Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, it has been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry, so come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.
Charged with a crime, you need a real attorney, and here's just a few reasons why. The police, the courts, the labs, the drug tests, probation, the judges, the jails, the prisons, and the entire system is just one big machine. They have one objective: take your freedom, take your possessions, take your money, take your children, control your life, and destroy your future. You only get one chance to hire the right attorney. One that will stay in your corner. One that will fight for your rights. One that will fight for your freedom. Choose an attorney that's experienced in fighting the justice machine. Attorney Michael Komorn. Knockout victories one case at a time. Komorn Law. Google it. komornlaw.com.
Bill Schuette led the charge against medical marijuana, and even after the will of the voters was decided and the support was enormous, he still continued to fight against the will of the voters, keeping patients from the medicine that they need. So I think it's important that we all speak up on what we think about this initiative. But when the voters have their say, their will must stand.
I am Earl from G3 Cannabis Therapy Network, and you are watching Planet Green Trees, the original and #1 podcast in Michigan for all things cannabis and legal news.
Here's Michael Komorn with more Planet Green Trees.
We're back.
You got Gunnels.
We got Gunnels.
Oh, we're back. We are back, and we were just live at the Radisson Hotel. Who needs to buy a ticket these days? You can
just watch PGT.
Zoom right in.
Yeah.
Live from the...
good audio, too.
Very good. And I think a lot of the players on the podcast last night were at this event tonight from that Smoke and Roll podcast. And I was going to say, one of the things, Manny, you were asking Josie about her sons and daughters. Last night she was talking about the number of applicants that they've taken on to get expungements and, her involvement with assisting people in that regard. And she takes, that's one thing she's been really involved with, and it's had some successes, I know, doing them all over the state, and it's a good project. What's the name that they call it? It's like it's an offshoot of the Sons and Daughters. I'll think of what it is. But
Dildos for Justice.
It's not Dildos for Justice, but
there's a couple of organizations out there right now that are doing similar things with expungements and whatnot, raising funds. It seems to be the thing now.
Well, we've been doing a lot of expungement of Komorn Law. In fact, that day, I think one of our clients, we got a second expungement with one more left to go. So when it's all said and done, we will have mopped the entire thing up. He'll be
mopping it up,
free and clear of any prior felonies. And the laws have gone into more of a reform mode and created some opportunities for people to have those convictions set aside. So it's as we discussed, it has the impact of turning someone to a second-class citizen. And I think as the intention of the war on drugs began with Richard Nixon, it has impacted many people in that way. So it's a good opportunity in Michigan to clean up your record. So if interested, call Komorn Law. We do that, and we're undefeated, batting 1,000 and still pitching a no-hitter. All right, next topic is I think we have Eric Gunnels in the queue. Eric.
Hello, Eric.
Eric
Hello,
is
Amanda.
here.
Hello, Michael. Hello, Jim.
Eric is a longtime listener and big fan of Planet Green Trees.
Yeah.
Known Eric for a long time.
And we're a big fan of Eric. We always have been.
Eric, of course, is a what is he? You're a
trustee.
Trustee.
The trustee.
He's
trusted.
He's a local governor. He's a governor of the localities. He's a municipal.
He is. He's the
elected
voice
official.
He's the voice of reason in Thetford Township.
He's part of that one of those three branches of government that govern the Thetford, the township of Thetford.
Be the legislative branch.
And he tells them, yes, you can spend it on a new paper clipper, stapler, or no, we are not. We're putting new meter signs up. I'm sure it's more in detail than that.
I'll be honest with you. Since you touched on that subject, it's funny. We do find it difficult to spend the excise tax money because there are limitations on how you can spend it.
Huh.
It's actually a problem. It's actually problematic.
Interesting.
I was going to.
What do you mean by that?
I want to hear that, but I just want to draw this. Essentially, you're the one that's carrying the purse and providing the purse strings. That's what your branch of government does. Just want to put a little.
Well, that's it. More than just that, though. We're the boss over the fire department, police department, code enforcement,
Probably
and
should
local laws.
You shouldn't be in charge of anybody other than making laws. You're not an executive branch. I don't know what you're talking about. You're not in charge of anybody. What do you mean? You make laws. You have no authority. Maybe you got some subpoena power to bring someone to testify and ship it.
Oh my God.
What do you mean? All right, I don't want to start.
We have the hired. We have the
He
power.
walked you into that. He walked you into
You can hire and fire, maybe of that.
Hire
but you
and
don't-
fire, buddy.
Okay.
Hire and fire.
By not paying them anymore.
By not paying them anymore. Exactly.
But not like
we just fixed the glitch.
Somebody else should be reporting to you on that. I hope it's not.
Oh, you haven't received your paycheck in 6 months?
Because you just described like a conflict of the two branches of government at the greatest.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
A lawsuit coming to Thetford Township.
All right, listen. Eric called me to wish me health and happiness and love for the holidays. We hadn't talked in a long time.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like I don't know. I feel like I know what's going on. Through the social media and stuff. But and then he said, "Yeah, you should come down and hang out." And then all of a sudden, bam! He's like, "Here he is on Planet Green Trees," just throwing himself into the whole thing.
I thought he was going to be here live today.
I was hoping so, but it's fine. It's fine. But he's here now. Let's make the most of it. Let's make.
I didn't want to get you guys this new COVID variant.
Oh, well, it's better to get it early.
It's chronic. It's called chronic. Chronic variant.
Oh,
Omicronic.
Eric is, I was talking to a big fan. He said, "You haven't been down here in a while." I don't know why that is. You're always welcome to come out. And
hey, COVID, man.
I know, but by Zoom or whatever, I'm saying. But it should be. But I do know that there's a couple topics that we've talked about in the, and I think like we've had some healthy debates and a lot of love.
And we have a negative pressure room, Eric. So it's
we do actually. That is a bonus to in studio sessions.
But I was going to make this comment. I think like Eric, as an advocate, Eric was an advocate, and then he became a lawmaker, and his entire personality changed. He's became a. I mean, I'm kidding. But he's represents now a branch of government that
can tell you what to do and can tell you what you can and cannot do at your own home.
No, I'm saying that it's inevitably a failure by virtue of its existence, and and we need less of you, and we've had enough of you, and no matter what you're going to do, you're not going to do it right, okay?
Man, are you sure you wanted the Zoom link?
In that category, as a legislator.
No.
You're always in the difficult position, and you would agree with me as a citizen, by the way. But you come into this and you have to defend that as a position that you're in, even though you have good intentions. I just wanted to lay out the framework. That was not intended to be mean. Did that seem mean?
No, I know. No, I love it. I find it.
It was really mean, actually.
Listen, you're trying to be the best legislature you possibly can be.
I'm
right?
trying to be the best bad guy.
Well, no. I'm saying you're not doing this because you're the bad guy. You're trying to be one in the group or one and get someone else with you that's going to be, lead. And I get all that. But, I mean, is it hard to rail on the legislature? I don't think so. It's like a Bill Schuette. In fact, I'm not going to do it because it's not even creative. Like it's such an easy, low-hanging fruit just as a general, All right.
Yeah, but I mean, beating up on Bill Schuette was, that was.
Right, but after a while, it was so easy.
I was just about to say #FBS.
Right.
I mean,
Eric,
that still lives true.
I'm playing around, and I'm just saying, and that, how difficult the legislature is. It's, every different community, it's got its own set of politics and political capital that's being spread around and whatnot. And
I
don't know. So let me ask you: have you enjoyed your stint in politics?
Yeah, I actually have. I think it suits me well. And I say that because I got into government because I don't like seeing it. I don't like looking at it operate the way that it does. I don't like the decisions that other people often make. I mean, so occasionally there's a good decision. I see a good decision made in politics and I go, wow, that person actually, knew what they were talking about. Wow, that gives me hope. And so, looking at it like that from the outside in, I just couldn't stand, I just couldn't stand listening to other people make decisions over me that don't know even half as much about a particular subject as I do. And then when you stand there and you realize, wow, I should be sitting in that guy's seat, and this guy should be in the audience listening to me talk. And I guess that's just, you can only take so much of it. And I can only take so much of complaining before I have to offer a solution. I'm not a person that complains and then just doesn't offer a solution. I think constructively. I'm a problem solver. And that's just the kind of person I am. So that's why I'm here.
I should tell you that I would find it to be challenging in today's political climate because of all the divisiveness. And I think I don't think it's a secret. I think whether it's the most divisive or whatever, it's everywhere divisive. We got, just despised because because of party. And whatnot, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You realize,
which was just
a third of the country does not even want to call themselves a Democrat or Republican right now.
Right. Well, that's what my point is. Listen, I'm going to tell you this.
People are disgusted on both sides.
Well, I'm saying to you,
radicalness.
Well, what the point is that I've taken that position as well. I'm like apolitical in the sense that I'm not going to say one is better than the other. They both suck as far as I'm concerned. Because if you like one, you have to defend that. And the party is not to defend. I'll defend the issue. I'll defend the.
I don't like defending party.
No, I'm saying
don't like that.
I'm saying I will. I'm going to criticize when it's wrong, and that's it.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to associate with one being better than the other. But the problem is, as a politician, it's party driven. The entire, the legislative world we're living in at the state level and the federal level is all party driven. And
okay, it is, but here's where I think that can change. Is now it needs to be candidate driven, not party driven. I think almost every when I knocked on doors for the 48th district run in state representative in the 2018, the 2 out of 3 doors that I would knock on, people would say, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I value I look at the actual candidate and I judge it by the candidate. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think the more radical someone becomes and more party aligned they become, the people are going to be looking at the candidate who is, not like, I don't know. You're shaking your head. No, it's like I could see you I could sense you disagreeing with me. But at the same time, I think that it may take a while for a third party to come up, but at the same time, I think people are going to look at the candidate instead of the party anointed candidate from now on.
Okay, I'll say this. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that is some optimism to very bleak picture. So your talking points in that are well received, and I think that
I say that. Look at Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was way more loved by everybody of all races, cultures, and sexes than Hillary Clinton. The majority of women did not trust Hillary Clinton, and that is why she is not president.
But with that being said about Bernie, and I'm not saying this, I'm saying this in a totally neutral way, it's unequivocal that 60% of other people despise Bernie and his politics. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad. Okay. I'm just saying,
right.
So that is he's a polarizing candidate as much as he is unifying. Do you see what I'm saying?
He's polarizing to the party. He's not polarizing to the nation. I think when you looked at Bernie's track record, he had a lot of pull from both independents, libertarians, and even some few conservatives. So I think he did pull that, and I think he pulled more of the middle of the crowd than what Hillary did. And Hillary had the radicals, and I don't think that people. When you talk about politics, there's a number of different categories that you can kind of ask a politician about to be very clear. You've got what's your philosophy on economics, right? What's your philosophy on, social issues? What's your philosophy on religion? I guess religion.
Your philosophy on marijuana.
Well, I mean, they all fall into different categories. What's your issue on,
That's what it kind of boiled down to for a very long time. Is who's going to back the cannabis world, and that's who everybody went with. And the lines were blurred. It wasn't blue, red, green, yellow. It was, it was all just that's way we were all going. But now there's so much different. And I do want to just put in there that Bernie's mittens, they won me over. That was it.
I could see Bernie Sanders, being like a similar kind of attorney general that maybe, being a president like maybe our attorney general Dana Nessel is, in the sense that I would say their political scheming is probably not very different, but I don't think you're still going to have an enforcement of, an expectation of enforcement of rules regarding marijuana any way you're going to look at it. I think that.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Well,
it doesn't.
I just don't think we're going to get there that fast. And I don't think that anything that was ever being discussed about legalizing marijuana at the federal level out of Bernie's mouth was ever that people are just going to be able to grow as much as they want and there's going to be no regulated industry.
I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be that
right.
way.
And then there's there's all kinds of limitation to freedom. So we could have all kinds of freedoms in this country, but those freedoms come with limitations.
Eric, so listen, back to your thing about candidate, and I think Bernie is a bad example from what you're talking about because I'm not saying he's a bad candidate. I'm not saying that I don't appreciate many of his policies or whatever. But I'm saying if you're going to find the candidate that's going to be the most, and listen, every community is different. We're talking about Bernie. We're talking about the national level. As unifying as he may be on one side of the party, I think he's got to polarize into the, those that differ from him economically in their philosophy. There's social issues, and whether it's true or not is not the debate. It's just the perception of him being socialist, and I'm not saying he is or whatever. That just boils right down to
to the basis of the two-party system.
Right.
It just comes down
So
to
right. So that's what I'm saying.
about
Right.
how the world, how you think the world should be.
Right. But what you're saying is,
I mean,
so listen. Here's what I'm saying. He's polarizing to the Democratic Party and even polarizing more for getting, moderates, I think, or even he's maybe a deterrent. But when you talk about how to get what's the positive in politics, you got to find a person that is not party driven, but appeals to enough issues that can garner votes from philosophically different minded people, and I think it's I think and I was using those definitions as like economically conservative and socially liberal or whatever. There's a way to kind of define what that is. And but I don't. But you got the other problems that all the funding for fundraising comes from the party. The support and
you always have to understand that if you're not tightly party aligned, then
the party will run you out.
Right, you're going to be the underdog. You're going to be the you're going to be the outsider. You're not going to be the when I ran in the 48th district, I was not the anointed Democratic candidate. I was the outsider. And I certainly got treated that way. And I lost the election to her because of that. But nevertheless, it's still the point that I ran, and I ran on the principles that I ran on. And I really think that I could run for either party and still maintain those same principles and not even really change my platform. And people would look at it and go, because people would look at my platform anyway, they go, "Are you Democrat or Republican?" And I'm like, I'm just for the people, okay? And I happen to chose a party, and that's it. You know what I mean? Because I think this party more aligns with my current views, just like most people do.
What party aligns with your views?
Currently, still the Democratic Party. I can't. I'm disgusted by a lot of the things the Democratic Party does, but at the same time, the Republican Party, I just can't put myself in that camp. I can't support Trump. It's just I'm not that person.
You wouldn't consider yourself fluid, because that's what I am. I used to think I was something that I wasn't, and I've changed a lot. And now I kind of go back and forth depending upon, and I don't want to put myself in any little box.
Right.
That says I have to vote this way, or I have to support this person, or I have to do. No, that's not the way it works for me. So fluid.
No, yeah, exactly. And I get points knocked off me, for doing that, because I feel strongly that it's more about being, sensible and logical and more toward, the middle of the road than way off on the right or way off on the left. So that's just my take on it. With that,
So you're in favor of the one of the campaign or one of the platforms of the that party being I don't even want to go gun reform. Just kidding.
It's just funny. Jamie Lowe called me. Jamie Lowe called me.
So what's up?
A pro-gun Democrat the other day.
We've been talking. We've been talking a little bit about the Oxford shooting and trying to make some positive discussions about it. I don't know if I want to go there. Maybe we should talk about.
Okay.
It's sad, and no matter how you look at it, it's a sad scenario. And even if you try to do something about that, it still creates a sad scenario, because really, we're just treating a school then like a prison complex, and then you have this prison complex mentality that I think that's driven into the kids, and I think that's psychologically dampening.
Are you talking about the metal detectors, Eric?
Well, just probably everything that could be thought of. You know what I mean?
I think the kids have gone through a whole lot the last couple of years. Okay, especially the last couple of years. Not only have they lost family, friends, loved ones, they were pulled out of school, their social circles, all of these types of different things have happened to these kids. And so my opinion is it the best scenario to have, like what Jim suggested, to have some folks that are there monitoring the entrances? and who comes in and out with a metal detector in whatever budgets they have going with all of our excise tax from the recreational program. I'm sure some of those in some way, I'm not political like that, but I'm sure some of it could be wiggled into a general fund, okay? And in which case it could be used effectively and for what it's supposed to be for promoting healthy futures, right? We're giving back to the communities. But there isn't an easy answer. But one thing that we can all agree on, I think, is that these children for the last couple of years since this whole thing has started happening, with COVID specifically, I mean, they've been traumatized up until now, okay? So we're dealing right now with a bunch of traumatized kids. And this is not just elementary school, middle school, high school kids. I mean, I'm talking kid, like, you know, when I say kid, I guess nowadays, it's like even people in their 20s and below, you know, late 20s and below. So, you know, putting a metal detector and someone standing at the front darn door isn't the worst of cases.
I'd agree. I'd agree. Look, I've said from day one that you know, any either off duty or on duty, any reserve officer or time that they have in any local police department should correspond with any school, and during key hours of morning and afternoon, start up and let out of the schools, they should probably place them strategically. Some strategic thought should go into that. I've always said that, but I've always maintained that it should be the school boards that kind of exercise discretion how they see fit. But with measures, I don't necessarily believe it should be a statewide thing, but maybe should be looked into via location or via community.
And another thing that has been kind of like a theme is that folks are afraid with putting authority figures or putting those folks in the beginning or in the entrances and exits of the building, that maybe they would overstep their bounds and hurt their children in some way or something like that.
I don't think so. I don't buy into that. And I don't buy into that because I believe that there is trained and there is untrained. And you have, if a school or like if a police department wanted to offer a higher level of training to an officer to be in and around schools and this and that and trained to handle an active shooter scenario in a school, then yeah, I mean, because I think there could be some extra training in there. I mean, especially when it comes to knowing what's behind your target, beyond your target. You don't want to you don't want to excessively deploy rounds into a school anyway. So
we have TSA agents,
right,
who are not technically law enforcement,
right? But I'm just saying.
Hold on, can I ask you a question? Are you opposed to metal detectors? Wasn't that the question?
Well, I mean, like metal detector,
a metal detector,
or
yes or no?
Guard or armed guard.
Armed guard. What about a metal detector?
I would prefer a metal detector first.
And locking down the building afterwards.
I mean, when you're talking like metal detector, and like keyed entryways and those kind of technical security devices, those things can be gotten around. Okay, so that's not to me. That's not the.
You know what? Here's the thing, though. There's a difference of just gotten around. First of all, if they have a purpose, they detect metal. You put it through an X-ray machine, right? Mm-hmm. They do it at courthouses.
And it's
sure.
And
the problem is, if you really want to protect, you're saying it's more important to protect the judges than it is our kids. I mean,
in the airports, when people
let's be honest, Michael. Let's be honest. I mean, if someone really, really wanted to assault a courthouse, I mean, it wouldn't take much.
Let me tell you something. How about this? How about this?
What's going to stop you is an armed guard.
How about this?
An armed guard is the one that's going to stop you at a courthouse because you're walking into a building with a bunch of armed cops.
Well, how about an armed guard behind a metal detector?
Let me say this. Let me just say this.
At every courthouse I've been to, there's always 2 armed guards at every metal detector.
I don't know. I think you'd have to have a death wish in the first place to even try to get in and shoot something up if you're
Think
going
about
into
this,
that
though.
scenario.
Think about this. Okay, first of all,
and yes, I agree that you can also get, if people are sitting there and they have all day to think about it, they are going to figure it out if they want it bad enough.
That's okay. And I mean, I think the ultimate point is the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Stop. Listen. Before you start getting all political, because I got to cut you off when you start doing stuff like that. Okay, I know you got your talking points. All right.
Hey, you asked. we jumped into this feet first, man.
Listen,
look, I mean, this is all about politics anyway. We have a lot of leeway when we talk about these kind of things here. This is all about
quite a bit of leeway.
We were talking about this. We have a courthouse. It has a metal detector.
Yeah,
it's got armed guards
and possibly an X-ray machine.
And possibly an X-ray machine.
Yeah.
And armed guards or guards with guns. Right now, one thing you don't hear about that often is courthouse shootings. They happen every now and then. It's usually when they take a gun off of.
And the shooter is usually not inside the courthouse.
They're inside the courthouse. They're taking out. They get a gun off of someone and do something like that. Right? It's very rare that they come from the outside. It could happen. Eric mentions that.
Yep.
It doesn't happen partly because there's the presence of it. People don't think they're going to get away with it.
Right.
So there's something about having.
It's a deterrent.
You're only going to make it 20 feet in the door, and the third, you might get the.
Listen. Here's
you have all the cops all over you.
Here's a question. If there was a metal detector with this shooting, the way it went down in Oxford, the backpack may have identified. There's a higher chance that that's going to be identified.
There's a high probability. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it seems to me that it is a no-brainer that they use, that it creates a potential of stopping a potential harm. It's a deterrent because people know they have to go through it, and then they have to think of something else smarter to get around it, okay?
Yep.
And Jim came with the simple idea that, and this is at the schools anyways right now, and it should be, like school starts, the doors are locked. And before the doors are locked, nobody's in there. And as every person comes in, you check them to make sure they don't have a weapon. That's kind of an easy way to secure. And I haven't even talked about a cop. I haven't talked about a cop.
building.
I haven't talked about a cop on site yet, because I know that's a concern of mine as well, Eric, that it gets to be too prison-like. Okay, and what I described right there has a sense of that, but it
could be an administrator. It doesn't.
It could be an administrator, and it can dress it down and whatnot too. And they should have somebody.
Veteran.
A veteran.
I mean, look. All
right, listen. That's Eric.
Why would you not want to? Why would you like? I mean, well,
there's no reason. Listen, there's no argument.
You could talk about this all night, but
but there's listen.
Cannabis stuff.
Listen, I agree. I'm not going about this with any intention of taking away anyone's rights. I have kids in school as well, so I may be, and I'm thinking about it objectively, and the concerns. And you never think it's going to happen at your school, but you'd like to think that, now that now it's become more real. And I just think the conversation about these various topics are interesting. And I don't want to have the one thing I don't want to have happen, Eric, which I sensed you alluding to before, which is like, it's tragic and blah, 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 and there's nothing we can do about it. I like to think that we can have conversations. There may be something new or unique that we can identify as a acceptable measure coming out of here. So there is something that can be said that at least we're doing this. Because we all agree that we don't want it to happen.
Right.
We can all agree.
Wait, let me finish. We don't want it to happen. We don't want kids being killed. We want to put a protectiveness on that. Remember, a courthouse also is a place of conflict.
Yes.
Like if you would think about, like schools can be a place of conflict too. It's all the
it's just different.
Right, but if you think about the different types of places of injustice or harm, identifiable harm that could happen to people between a school and a courthouse, like you could clearly make a case that a courthouse would be more likely to be like a targeted location, which is why they have a guard there, right? Less to a school, but we're able to do it at a place that's probably got a higher, desired, it's there for a reason, So there's and I think that it doesn't have to be some kind of presence because you're dealing with the general public. You know, you're dealing with the general public's accessibility, right? We're not even talking about that. We're just saying the kids that go to the school and maybe their parents under some, you know, reserved measures, you know, we're going to check them on the way in. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard.
It's not.
If we can do it for the school. You know what I mean, Eric? And you don't need guards because the idea is that no one from the general public's going to be... What?
That could be universal. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
And right, so it doesn't violate anyone's rights, and you haven't made it. All right, here's the other thing. The more interesting topic, Eric, and as you know, Michigan does not have a safe store your gun law. It will, though, soon. You want to bet on that? I'm sure we're going to see that happen. But without create any impediments, removal of rights, even the concept of taking away anyone's rights. I want to have a discussion about responsible gun ownership and the criminality of not being responsible. Now, I am not going to suggest that this deprives anyone of the right to possess a firearm, okay? Nothing that I'm saying. I'm not even saying background checks. I'm not even saying anything about getting less of them.
None of them.
What I'm saying is, upon that purchase and upon that right that you exercise, there's a legal requirement to be reasonably safe with the weapon. And unreasonably safe with the weapon that results in harm makes the gun owner accountable. I don't know what the fact pattern is that does that, but and it may not even be with this kid, okay, in this case in Oxford, but I'm saying I do like the conversation about, because the reality is this, that kid should not have had a gun in the school. He's allowed to have a gun on his property. He's allowed to shoot in his backyard. Fine. Allowed to carry it around his house. Allowed to take pictures of it on Instagram and post it and put it on your Christmas cards and send them around to all your family. And he could leave it around. He could pick it up and go shoot in the back and bring it in and show his kids and videotape and do whatever he wants. But that child should not leave the house with that gun.
Right.
That child should not be in a situation where they can take it onto the school property. Put it aside the school's responsibility to stop that from happening. Whose responsibility is it to prevent that from happening under those circumstances, Eric?
Well, the owner of the actual owner of the gun.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the right answer.
That's the right answer. So you agree? Because listen, gun owners should be, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think the NRA's position is, you know, get your goddamn hands off my gun or whatever it is. You know, cold hand, whatever. You know, don't tell me how to be responsible with my weapon. I'm going to be as irresponsible as I want. Like, that's not a mantra of the NRA. No gun owner is saying that.
Yeah, the NRA is definitely all about responsible gun, ownership and, usage. But let's,
Eric, this is a good topic. This is a good topic here.
But however, let's be clear though. Okay, if someone breaks into someone's house and steals their gun, okay, and then uses it in the act of a crime,
that's not a thing. It's not a thing. That's a crime. That vitiates it. But for the criminal act, which is not, it should not be. I'm not putting criminal acts in there. I'm talking about neglect, like
negligence.
Reckless neglect.
That's not it can't work.
It's gross negligence.
Gross negligence, and more than It's okay. But I mean, I might even be. It's hard to criminalize negligence.
It's not hard to criminalize gross negligence.
But they do have strict liability crimes. Like you do the act, doesn't matter if you intended it or not, right? So it would and I think it's because I'm telling you that there's a scenario. I don't know what all the facts are. I'm not going to presuppose what they are, but you could see a scenario with this kid in Oxford where they let him have free reign. They want him to be a kid that grew up with a gun, and I'm not judging that. They want him to have all this, but
you don't have to judge.
Under those circumstances, they should have prevented. If the gun is freely possessed within the house, and he's not allowed to possess it outside of it, then they have an obligation to stop that from happening.
The child walked out with a handgun that was not his. He was not the registered owner of. That is, that's what we know for a fact.
Right. I mean, look, if the parents didn't lock it up in a room, a closet, a cabinet, a toolbox, a gun safe, or something like that, if they didn't lock it up, I mean, you know, they're liable. That's if they have someone in the home. Okay. But then again,
they're not liable. They're not liable because that's not the law in Michigan right now.
But then again, what if I'm going to give you a scenario. What if someone's, you know, like, what if you're, what if you're single and you have a firearm in your bedroom, in a secret stash, and it's there for your self-defense. It's loaded. You're there for your self-defense, and you don't tell nobody about it. But then you date somebody and they have a kid and their kid's over and their kid sneaks in your bedroom while you're outside in the patio and, you know, sneaks your gun out and then puts it in his backpack and then takes it to school.
Then you got a problem.
No can-do's-er, Mr. Gunnels. That's going to be a problem for you.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, because at that point, the owner doesn't even know it's been stolen.
Yeah, but the owner certainly knew the child was in the home.
It's the owner's responsibility to know where that gun was. And especially, like Jimmy says, if there was a kid there. Sorry, I'm in Ipsy. Let me mute.
I'm in Ipsy.
Eric, could it not be something like this? Okay, I live by myself. I know I'm a gun owner. I'm a responsible gun owner. I'm having a friend over who's got a kid, and I'm out in the backyard and the kid's running through the house. I'm thinking to myself, shit, I got a gun upstairs in my bedroom. That kid could go up there and get that gun and shoot himself or herself and shoot everybody else up, even though they're 4 years old. They saw it on TV. They're going to, you know, or they took it, you know.
Right.
I'm saying
you're inviting someone into your home. You're inviting someone into your home, and you're responsible for something, you know, for property ownership would be like a gun ownership. You're responsible for the ownership of the firearm. And if they take it from your house and use it in the act of a crime, then you're responsible because they, you know, I mean.
No.
Eric, what would happen if you were an illicit drug user? Okay, we're going to put it like this. What if you're an illicit drug user? You have an ounce of black tar heroin. I don't know what that looks like, but I imagine that it would mess you up. And you have that in your room because you're a single Jasper. You like to hang out and stuff like that. You invite a lady friend over. The lady friend happens to have a kid. Kid gets into the frickin' black tar heroin.
And it eats it. And
whose fault is that?
Right.
And what if that kid grabs that ounce of black tar heroin, takes it to school?
Right.
Still your fault.
Well, Amanda, I don't know if you heard us talking.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you know,
Well, we were talking about in this context that we punish parents for, like, if you leave your pills out, Simpson, if you leave your pills out and the kid overdoses, CPS is going to take some action against the parents.
Yeah.
The neglect of the parents has consequences.
That's right.
How much of a stretch is it to have the same concept applied to some other dangerous object? Just because it's a gun doesn't make it less dangerous or less of a right to be neglectful with.
Right.
It has the same danger potential as
So
as the pills do.
knife.
A kitchen
So like
knife,
a
a stove,
kitchen knife.
a dog that attacks kids in the house.
What if,
you know,
right.
Not having the shit.
What if the kid takes the kitchen knife from your kitchen and goes and cuts a kid's throat at school with it? And, you know, are you, I mean,
Eric, you're going down the slippery slope thing. Okay, listen, I'm saying to you this. A gun is dangerous.
Yes, and a gun is meant to kill people.
And a gun is dangerous.
Oh, easy, Jim, easy.
It is. On most of these issues, I'm on your side, Eric.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, a gun is still
It's a lethal device. It can cause death.
Okay. It can.
Okay.
I mean, I could kill you with a spoon, but go ahead.
Sure, but its primary purpose is not it's not the pepper.
Independent of it, it can kill, and it's not a lot from a Listen, it can be used to kill. All right, just the point is this: it's dangerous, right? And I was going to use the analogy of there's a
gas can?
No, I'm saying an invitee. There's business invitees into the house have certain protections, there's a certain amount of assume your own risk, what have you. But for all things, most things in our civilized society we live in, there's a social contract that if you invite someone to your house or into your business, it's going to be habitable, like a certificate of occupancy approval there, and safe, right? You're sure it's safe. And when you have a gun in the house, a gun is a potentially unsafe something, and subjecting someone to it, like if someone got shot within the house, neglectfully because it was being laid around, that shouldn't, I don't know. I mean, I hate the idea of the tragedy being compounded by those circumstances.
But at the same time, I mean, it's not intentional. Like even in the example, if it's not an intentional situation, but the problem is that there should be an expectation, and with most people there is, that firearms will be treated and will be respected, and that especially if there's children in the house, that they will be locked up or under the owner's direct control at all times.
Eric, here's another thing. I feel really bad about the following things. Number one is, I don't know anything about this kid, but however he got to this particular point in his life, certainly gun culture was part of it. I'm not saying that was a direct factor, but in the world that he was living in, and gifting guns, and it had some kind of impact in his life that he knew or was able to put together, there's a good argument that none of that would have had, maybe it would have manifested somewhere else, not in a school shooting with a gun that he had access to, but it certainly was something that was provided into his orbit to which he could, gravitate to in some capacity. And there he was, and I feel bad for him in that regard. And I know that his parents probably meant well. They're probably like hunted when they were kids.
I feel bad for them all. This is a horrible situation, but it's even more horrible for the parents.
I'm not minimizing that. I'm just talking about the gun culture and the gun impact here. And
there's always going to be somebody that's crazy that does something. It's like, I mean, whether that person is a radical Democrat or a radical Republican, it doesn't matter whether they're conservative or liberal. They can be anything. If that person is radical and that person's capable of committing harmful acts upon other people, they're capable of doing it. Even people that are generally not capable of doing it can still do harmful things to other people, circumstantially created with a causality connected to the environment or a situation.
You're right, Eric. You're absolutely right.
Let me ask you this. Do you agree or disagree that there are scenarios, maybe not the one that we know of right now because we really don't know the facts, but do you say that there's possibly a scenario where it would be appropriate to charge parents for the responsibility of a child taking a gun to school?
I think until the child is 18 years old, I think a child is always a parent's responsibility, period.
Okay.
I'm not a parent, okay? But I would have to say that when you have a kid, until that kid is 18 years old, that's
all right. There's a difference.
Is the responsibility of the parents.
There's a difference to what I'm talking about. Understand this. I would say responsibility in that regard from a legal perspective is caring for roof, food, whatever, like all those kind of things. I'm asking this question. Wait.
I think if your kid goes out and kills somebody, the parents are responsible for it. If it's a malicious attack, if your kid commits a malicious attack.
In this particular scenario, maybe, but there are different scenarios in which I can think of off the top of my head that it probably wasn't the parents that, should have been held responsible for that act. Now, clearly they had responsibility, but it wasn't that extreme, This particular case, I think, is a little intense because it was just, first of all, it's so close. And secondarily, I mean, it was like something that it was just multitude of things.
Look, I believe that you are responsible for your kids' actions until they are 18 years old.
What if the kid stole the gun from the neighbor Or got it from the neighbor's kid who took it from the dad.
You know what? You know what? You know what? The parents are at fault. Okay, I'm telling you, like what? I mean,
Eric's ruling with an iron fist on this one.
Yeah, that's good.
If your kid has been raised to be so cognitively distant that they don't know that is a wrong decision. Man,
what if they're what if they know? What if they're mentally ill, Eric?
Yeah. What if they know it's wrong?
Like, they know and they're defiant?
No, like they're mentally ill. Like they don't even realize what they're doing is wrong.
What if they have some problems?
Look, I have compassion on the mentally ill. Okay.
Well, don't you think that's where the root of what most of these events are is rooted in mental illness?
Man,
that's a big one.
It sure seems to be rooted in it, yes, but at the same time, even if you're mentally ill, you cannot cause harm to other people.
Oh, I agree.
You're not supposed to.
We're discussing whether the parents should be held culpable for it.
Well, yeah, if your kid's not mentally well and your kid goes out and does something crazy like this, you should be responsible. Yeah.
You know, one of the problems is, Eric.
That's a tough pill to swallow, Eric.
It is a tough pill to swallow. It is a tough pill to swallow. And you know what? If you're not prepared to swallow that pill, then don't have kids.
They don't have a gun,
Bam.
you mean? They don't have a gun.
Don't have kids.
Don't have a gun.
Okay? I don't want your kid, going to my local school and shooting up people in 10 years.
Have kids, but don't give them a gun. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Eric, we don't know how these kids are going to turn out anyway.
Okay, fine. Don't give a kid a gun. Okay? Don't give a kid a gun.
Shit's off the hook.
It's crazy. It's funny that you
into all kinds of unflattering topic.
No,
okay, but then again, Michael, the state of Michigan allows kids underage as low as what? What's the lowest age now? They just lowered it like a few years ago.
To hunt with a license, you have to get a hunter's license.
Yeah. But I mean, like they just lowered the age. What, Jim? Do you know what the age now is?
Like,
I want to say it's 12, but
8, 10.
I think it's younger than
10 or 8, maybe.
Than 12.
Yeah.
10, I think it's younger than 12 now. So can you imagine? And there's talk about people actually raising the age. I can't remember what it is now. I think it's like 8 or 10.
Yeah, I agree with you. But that's what it probably is. But listen,
now you think about this. I mean, you're going to give it now, but I think the rules say that they have to be chaperoned by an adult, 21 and older. Okay, so yes, but nevertheless, I believe a 12-year-old can go out by themselves with a gun and hunt.
I also want to just bring up, I'm not.
Are you okay with that, Eric? Eric, are you okay with a 12-year-old hunting without a parent or chaperone?
A 12-year-old?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what the current law is, I'm okay with that as long as it's on private property.
What if it's your kid?
I mean, if that's, I don't know the exact state law about that, but if that's the current state law, I'm okay with that as long as it's on, private property. I don't know if you can, I don't know if
without a chaperone, without a chaperone.
Chaperoneless.
Just your okay, pretend the law is.
I don't know what the
such.
law is on that. I honestly don't know what the law is on that.
I
really don't.
Well,
I don't know what the law is on that.
But if you were king for a day, what would it be?
Yeah,
I don't know, guys. I guess if you're under 18, you gotta be in the presence of an adult. Yeah, I mean, for the most part. But
here's in Michigan, it's so rural and there's a lot of hunting going on. So it presents kind of a challenge especially for some families because they're in areas where there's a lot of land. So, they want their kids, it's a part of the culture. They want their kids to get out there and start hunting and, learning how to use guns and bows and arrows and all this kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, that's, I think, depending on the kid, maybe that would be the first thing you would take into consideration and their maturity level and stuff like that. But I personally, for either one of my kids, which are grown now, but I would not have them out there at 12 by themselves with a gun. I just wouldn't.
I mean, look. I mean, my grandfather used to have a shotgun by the corner of his bedroom, but us grandkids knew better than to go touch it. I mean, we wouldn't go dare touch it because we were taught not to. Okay, and that's my grandfather's long dead now. I mean, but you're talking of a guy from 100 years ago. I mean. That was the old timers mentality. And then there wasn't, things like that. But today, I don't think it's a problem to expect people to keep guns locked up away from children. And for children handling guns, they got to be in a company of an adult. I don't think that's unreasonable, Michael.
No, I think that's reasonable for the most part.
I think it's 18. Yeah. I've seen a lot of 18 here on
the chat.
But once you're 18,
then you're an adult.
Then you're an adult.
Yeah.
Then you have the rite of passage, and that's it, man. And now, I kind of think we ought to maybe look at concealed carry in a different light. I think maybe
in a different light than it already is.
Yeah, because I kind of think like
more training.
Well, honestly. I just don't think that young people need to be concealed carrying.
Oh, I didn't expect you to hear. I didn't expect to hear that from you, Eric. That's
yeah.
That's
I mean, I guess maybe I guess that's my point. But then again, I don't think that when you're a mature adult that your Second Amendment should disappear the moment you put your gun in your car. I mean, I think the vehicle code itself needs a major overhaul. I think it violates too much civil rights.
Should we just get rid of the vehicle code?
Absolutely.
Let's get rid of it.
I'll
show you no turn on red, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, other than traffic laws, Jim, I don't really particularly like.
I don't like the traffic laws either.
Yeah,
you think we have a right to travel, Eric? Don't you? You have a right to travel, and you don't need a license.
Right.
You think so?
What's that? You travel and not have a license?
Yeah.
Oh,
come on,
man.
give me some straight up more stuff. I want to hear some of that. Sovereign citizen, go at me. Come on, bring it.
Man, I don't know.
Come on, sovereign citizen.
Because
are you sovereign?
Because there's a whole thing about I guess you could throw that in the mix with like voting and voter ID and stuff.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Because
for example,
it's a false equivalency.
Do you think I have a right to travel or a right to drive? Right? And it doesn't.
I'll give you an example, Mike. You tell me about this.
Right.
I'll give you an example. One time I got pulled over on a 4-wheeler, and I did not have my driver's license on me.
Yep.
But I'm out in the woods on a 4-wheeler.
Yeah, but you were on state land, weren't you?
I was on state land.
Yep.
And then the DNR officer pulled me over, and he said, "Do you have your ID on you?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Why don't you have your ID on you?" And I said, "Because I'm on a 4-wheeler."
Yeah, but you're operating a motor vehicle in the state of Michigan.
Then he goes, "Are you in the state of Michigan?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Are you operating a motorized vehicle?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Are you on state land?" I said, "I'm not sure, but I guess from what you're telling me, I am." And he's like, "Okay, then you're required to have your driver's license on you." And I'm like,
"Well, shit.
I had no idea, officer. Sorry."
Surprise.
Sorry.
What do you do?
He just let me off the warning.
Oh, good.
Did he catch you while he was riding a 4-wheeler?
No, he had a truck.
Oh, why did you stop?
Yeah.
He put his flashers on and just pulled up in front of me.
Oh, I see.
I'm not gonna try to be that guy.
He cut you off at the pass. He might have done one of those maneuvers, that pit maneuver.
Okay, now
wait. Let me interrupt this.
I have outran them before on the back roads of my own township. Okay, but that's because I know my own township and I know how to evade them. But
I knew it.
That's a different story.
Let me just point out for those that ever listen or follow my advice, what Eric Gunnels did in that interaction with the officer when he's asking him, are you committing a crime right now? And he was saying yes. And he'd say, are you sure you're committing a crime right now? He'd say yes. And there'd be another crime that you want to make sure just to lock you in, to make sure that I'm hearing.
Committing this crime. Oh, yes.
Yes. The advice is usually not to talk.
Yes, I've thought about it for a while. Yes, I am. Absolutely.
Well, he was the DNR officer was asking me straightforward questions that I was like, I can't deny. I can't say no to that. I can't deny that.
But you could just not say anything. You could just not say anything. Just pretend you're mute.
I like the way that you did this to yourself.
Of course.
You know you're on state land. You're like, I don't know, but probably. Which is like, if you really genuinely don't know, then maybe they've got, I mean, just like, of all the admissions, you've admitted one that you weren't even sure of to their benefit. That's.
Well, I mean, hey.
I'm just saying, it's okay. It's all right. Listen, it worked out. You sweet talked him. You did your thing. You gave him the gunnels. You gave him the gunnels, and he couldn't resist.
He gave him the gunnels.
Halfway into it, how soon into it did you tell him that you were you worked for Thetford and you were
a beach? No.
You did.
You did. I said, look, I'm a white male Caucasian.
Oh my God.
I'm a legislator over in Thetford. I'm entitled to privilege.
White.
Just admit that you told him you were on local government. Tell me that.
No, this is like in my early 20s, long before it ever happened.
All right. Okay.
So then it goes back to what Jamie said, a beach. Nobody caught it. Okay.
Jamie Lowe's rejoined us. I mean, he's there. He's
He looks like John Travolta.
No, I was going to. I was not John Travolta. I was going to say
Blues Brother.
Harvey Keitel.
Looks like a Blues Brother.
He's
right
like
now.
the Harvey Keitel in the cleanup from the cleanup.
Oh,
come on,
Dan Aykroyd.
All right, Eric. So you formulated some kind of statute on Thetford. That's what else we can talk about. We'll leave guns alone for a little while. It's 9:41.
Sure. Well,
We've
only got 19 minutes left. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Why is there a caregiver statute in Thetford?
Well, because after the DeRuyter decision, that was becoming a quick domino effect by all the townships to adopt ordinances and piggyback off each other, plagiarize each other's ordinances, and Frankenstein them together. And if you don't know, it's a big plan by the Michigan Townships Association, the Michigan Municipals League, to regulate that, and they always have wanted to do that. Okay, well, the DeRuyter decision came down, and it gave them their opportunity to say, yeah, you can do this. Although they've later said that it's a complex issue, and be careful, and not all the rigmarole you put in these ordinances you'll be able to enforce. But as you know, it started happening like a domino effect. So and every single one that began adopting another one after the other one, every single one just kept getting worse and worse and worse language until pretty much you're looking at it going like, holy crap, that pretty much erodes the entire integrity of the act. And if we continue this trend, it's going to look pretty dim. We need a win. So I said, well, heck, I'm a caregiver and I'm a trustee. And I'm like, okay, why wouldn't I write an ordinance, one that I think most caregivers could live with, and also that I think addresses any and all real problems that exist. And as far as the smell thing goes, I think that's most of the time that's a ruse by most people just to say they don't like marijuana. And I just don't like it, and I just don't want to live next door to someone who grows it. Wham, wham, wham.
Mm-hmm.
On the main issue of my ordinance, which is the meat and the potatoes of my ordinance, which is the main issue because on every issue that came up in the township over the last 13 years, someone would complain and they'd say, can we do this? And I'd say, no, you can't restrict the act. And they'd say, well, can we do this? And I go, no, can't. My good buddy Michael Komorn says we can't do that. Can we do this? No, I've heard Michael Komorn say we can't do that either. And so it's like over the years, I've told him, no, we can't restrict the act. And then all of a sudden legalization happens and a little uptick in what I like to call remote grows started occurring. And, you know, in just basically specifically what I'm referring to is, you know, remote grow is when someone comes into your community, doesn't live there, doesn't live at the home, and just buys the home to set up a grow. Whether they're a caregiver or whether they're just doing it recreationally, whether they're doing, you know, medical plant, you know, counts under 72, or whether they're doing just 12. You know, it's a remote grow. It's just done by somebody that doesn't live at the house and is just turned the house into a grow facility. So on all these other caregiver issues, on all the other issues that people have brought up over the years, I've always been able to address them, downplay them, or say, no, we can't do that. It overrides the act. We can't restrict people's rights. But then all of a sudden, one day, that, you know, these about 5 or 6 of my residents were complaining about this neighbor. And they said, well, Eric, he doesn't live there. And I'm like, okay. And then quickly their argument is now an argument that I found difficult to refute. So for the first time in 13 years, now the residents have presented an actual argument that is rooted in logic, rooted in reason, rooted in, you know, community.
We talked about this before. What problem is caused by simply just the mere fact that somebody doesn't live in the house, doesn't stay in the house every night?
I think it goes to the idea, Jamie, that it's you're not living there, and so what you're doing is you're establishing a pattern in that community that it's okay to do that, and maybe one person doing that is not a problem.
Are they paying the rent?
But,
is the lawn upkept?
I'm sure they are.
All right, so what's the problem?
Well, they're buying the houses most of the time. You say?
Well, yes, yep. And but at the same time, there's often things that trigger attention. So the person doesn't live there, so they don't mow the grass as often.
Well, is that what's happening in this case?
Yeah, well, it happens in each of the cases.
Don't you?
Then the code enforcement comes by and says.
So like one guy had a pool, a swimming pool out back of his house, but he never used it. So all summer long, he's got the pool liner on top of the pool, and now he's got 6 inches of green water on top of that, full of mosquitoes.
So send the building inspector over there.
Yeah, that's not stuff that has anything to do with the
right. But
people can be good neighbors whether they reside in the home or not.
Right. But what happens is that gets you noticed, and then all of a sudden the neighbors start paying attention, and now they realize you don't live there, and you got a couple of 2-ton air conditioners outside the house, and now they're putting 2 and 2 together, and you just upgraded your amperage system to a 400-watt system, and you know, so you know, it's like now it just sets off all kinds of flags, and so now everyone says it's okay, and every one of these people that complained about this said it doesn't bother me that they grow there, it just bothers me that they don't live here.
Well, that's the problem. Then what? You can't are like rentals outlawed in Thetford? I mean, the argument doesn't make any sense.
I just don't agree when you say it's rooted in logic. I just don't agree with that. You said what it is. Some people just don't like it. I don't think it needs any new laws. But I will say this, because I know I've talked about your ordinance with you already a couple of times.
Sure.
If somebody accepts it as the solution, it really is benign because it's lowest level enforcement priority, and it goes out of its way to say to still respect the caregiver-patient activity and
absolutely
stuff like that.
Right, and the way I looked at it, Jamie, is how can I make this as least impactful while still addressing the complaint issue that has everybody riled up, and so the complaint issue is, and I kept asking the residents. I said, okay, if you lived there, would it be a problem? And they said no. And I said, okay, but since the MMMA does not require you to live at the residence you grow, the way I worded it is, if you have a residential structure used principally as a residence, a person, not the person, but a person, 21 and older must live there. So in my
21
opinion,
and older?
Yeah. So in my opinion, that really limits the margin of people that will even be affected at all, just down to maybe on average, maybe 3 to 7 people per community. I mean, that's all it would affect. Okay. And that's if they didn't live there, but they have an option to get someone else living there. And if someone else is living there, no problem. You can do whatever you want then. No one cares.
Why do they care if the person lives there or not?
Jim, I think if you look at it, really is not new to our state. If you look at across the nation, every state that's gone legal in the past 20 years has had a slight uptick of this in every community across the nation. It's nothing new. It's as old as marijuana legalization itself, dating back to the first legalization effort in California. After California legalized, I mean, there was people that bought up homes in various places in California and just gutted the home out, turned it into a grow op, and
and grew some weed.
There were a lot of those, and you know what they mostly got caught for was stealing power.
Okay.
They were rerouting the power, so it wasn't necessarily that they were growing. But and then also there's outdoor activity that they could put it on federal land. They're stealing water, so that there's a lot of things that people were upset about, not just that they weren't living there physically in those scenarios.
Well, and it kind of goes. Look, it really and to further answer Jamie's question, it really cuts to the core of why zoning laws exist in the first place. Okay. I mean, if you really want to just sum it up, we are talking about zoning law premise here. So, it's just that people, when they build or establish a residential neighborhood, you want to establish a residential neighborhood. I mean, you don't want a guy. I mean, Michael, do you want a guy opening a Harley Davidson shop out of his garage next door to your house?
Yeah, but that's not what this is.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying, like,
and even so,
you already can't.
Even when
you already cannot open up a pot business out of a house.
What's that?
You already cannot do that. You already cannot open up a pot business out of your house. So if there's evidence that that's going on. No, but I mean, he's equating it to the situation that we're talking about now.
Right. But what if it's a guy that's got a garage and he's a mechanic and he's certified, a Harley Davidson certified mechanic, and he lives there, but he's got a garage and he says, well, hey, I want to do some mechanical work on the side. Brum, brum, brum.
What about if a person lives in an apartment and they are sandwiched between a restaurant on the bottom and a bunch of kids on the top?
Right. What about if somebody they want to do their 36 plants on one side of the apartment and their 36 plants on the other side of the apartment?
Eric, what about if somebody buys a house and doesn't necessarily live there, but there's no evidence of any problems happening, and then somebody wants to make a law to make their life more difficult just because somebody else just doesn't like that fact?
How about this, Jamie? If you're not causing a problem and you're not getting noticed, no one's going to care.
Right.
I mean, really.
And if there's not evidence or at least a reasonable idea that some wrongdoing is going on that requires that much attention, then so that already can that already can put some processes in motion right now. You don't even need another law.
Right. Okay. So for example, like, the one guy, okay. So he had his power upgraded, but when they dug the trench for the power, they didn't backfill the trench with the dirt. So it's like piles of dirt everywhere with weeds growing up in it, not mowed.
Send the building inspector over there.
Right.
Yeah, but there's already codes.
Right. The guy's already codes.
There's already codes that address all that stuff.
Right. Right. And so look, that was the things that got him noticed by the neighbors. Okay. And so he was basically presenting himself as a nuisance anyway. Okay. But not really. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, I really want to live and let live on people's property as much as possible. However, like I said, it just got him noticed, and then the neighbors just kept, picking on him and picking on him and picking on him. And then I just said, and I went to the guy and I just said, hey, look, backfill the trench, mow your grass, get rid of the mosquito pond, you know what I mean, and just get someone living here, and your neighbors will no longer care what you do. And that's exactly.
Yeah, but Eric, here's the thing. I just want to make this distinction again. Yeah. If a township or the municipality wants to adopt something like what you have in Thetford, and it solves the problem for people, I'm okay with that because of all of the language involved in it. But to actually think that somebody not living in the house is a problem just because they're not living in the house, you're not describing any real issue, man. That's not already covered somehow.
You're in a way you're right, Jamie. Except the biggest complaint is that, well, if we let this continue, then it will be a trend. If it's a trend and when it continues, then our property values are going to go down. When I go to sell my home and I go to sell my home and the buyer comes out to buy my home, and then the neighbor, pulls up and has 20 people get out, to walk into the pole barn to trim the and then that person says, how are the neighbors? And what are you going to do? You're going to lie to them? You're going to say, oh,
no,
the neighbors
you're
are
just
great.
gonna
They're
say
barely
they're great.
even there.
They stay to themselves. They stink.
Then what if your buyer just goes and walks up to the neighbor's house?
A lot of ifs in these sentences.
Do you know how many buyers? Do you know how many home buyers?
Top notch.
You know how many home buyers will go and knock on the neighbor's door?
Let them.
A lot.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
Oh, I would. I'd want to know. If I'm going to buy a home, I want to know who the heck I'm moving next to.
You fucking Facebook stalk that bitch. Why would you do that? You're not going to learn anything. You go on Facebook. It's electronic these days.
Yeah, but I mean, look. I mean, I met my neighbors before I moved into my place, and I mean, I could smell the ganja coming out the door. I'm like, this is where I want to live. You know what I mean? Like, heck yeah.
Did you get to pay less for your house as a result?
I do see that there are people that, have owned their homes for a long period of time or worked really hard to get into certain neighborhoods, and they appreciate and want to maintain the home value. So having just the mere fact of having rentals in the neighborhood itself is, that's going to affect your property value. When you add something on, like people that just set up, I think what you're trying to call it, like a trap house or something.
Well, a remote.
Growing.
I'm calling it a remote
growing homes. And so
look, here's the other.
It's all going back to being a good neighbor.
He's also saying that most people are buying them, though. They're not necessarily rentals. They're buying.
If they're purchasing their home, then there's not much that other people can do except for the continual complaints.
Here's okay. One of the main women that complained in my township about this, and she was really adamant about it. And she said, you know what? She says, if people want to come here to Thetford and they want to, raise their family and they want to grow medical cannabis, she's like, I don't have a problem with that. But she's like, but when you come here and you buy a home and you don't care about the neighborhood, you're not here to assimilate with this community, you're just here to exploit it, and you're just trying to do a remote grow in a residential section, and I find that problematic. And to be perfectly honest with you, I can't say that she's wrong when it comes to your atypical person that does that. Okay, if you look at that person is just atypically. That person is not a good neighbor.
That's just not true, Eric. There's so much wrong with that statement. I can tell you that in the neighborhoods I've lived in, there's been plenty of grows, and the vast majority of them realize that if they're good neighbors, their neighbors won't give a shit. Just like you said.
Do they live there though?
No, they don't. I'm telling you. I've seen people. Go ahead.
Okay, but I mean,
I'm sorry. I've had people in both scenarios. I've had situations, both different scenarios. And the biggest thing is being a good neighbor, whether you're physically in the space or not. There are all kinds of options people have access to these days to make sure their stuff is taken care of.
I tell people to be a good neighbor all the time, but then there's out of the 100 or so caregivers in my community. You got that one guy who's just
but the
being blatant about it.
The situation you
Jim, I'll give you here's the difference. Okay, this guy took a one-level house, removed the kitchen cabinets, removed the refrigerator, took out the rest of the appliances, duct taped and spray painted the inside of the windows, and he didn't have a water heater.
Well,
okay.
Everything.
I've seen that. That's just a straight up grow house. That's a straight up grow house.
That is just to me. That's just
ordinance worthy.
To me, that's just blatant disrespect and disregard for community and neighbor and residential area.
Other than spray painting the windows, like what was disrespectful about it? I don't understand.
Because I suppose, Jim. It just comes down to the fact that nobody wants to live in a community full of remote.
Nobody.
And, I'm saying most
some
people,
folks.
I would say the majority of folks don't want to live in a community with a bunch of remote grows. Okay, so if there's any and all behavior that I could say is bad, I would say that would be it. I'm just saying. If 75% of the rest of the community out there thinks that all of us are bad actors because of one person and their bad acting, why are we?
But they don't. They don't think that. And you could have.
But they do.
No, they don't.
They do. Because they judge the rest of us.
If the township would have went over there and took care of that problem. Just took care of that isolated issue.
What am I going to tell? What am I going to tell somebody? Take care of your pool liner.
Yeah. You
freaking cite them.
Yes.
You say, "Here's a fucking fix-it ticket," just like you got a broken windshield.
And then when he doesn't, you haul him in.
Right? Okay, but then you guys are okay with those rules, but then you're not okay with.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
I am not okay with restricting people's access to housing based on their age. A. B, I'm also opposed to having the restriction put in place that you're not able to do whatever activity you deem fit in a home that you pay for. Okay.
Yeah, I feel you there.
There's a couple things, but we can just start there. I understand where other people are coming from in the fact that they don't want the only house on the street, but you got like 15 grow houses set up and you're the only one that actually lives there. But that's going to be a very small percentage. If you really think about it, property values are not in a place right now where that's even a possibility. If you're growing cannabis, sure, they probably go to Flint or Ipsy or someplace like that and buy up houses.
I think the properties are more valuable.
That's where it's coming from.
I think the properties are more valuable in Thetford Township because you have so much freedom out there.
Everyone loves freedom.
Hey, yeah. And and that's the thing. Look, here's the other thing too, guys. You got to look at it from the perspective of the complaint department. They're getting, on average, calls about, 1 to 2 a week and maybe more sometimes. And, someone says, what's your ordinance out there say? Can I come out there and can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do? And they've got a dozen different questions of can I legally do this? Can I legally do that out in the township? And and my complaint department and my billing department and my tax assessor and my all those people in my offices, they didn't know what to do. And they're like, and they're coming to me and they're going like, well, Eric, this guy bought up this house and he bought the one next door. He doesn't live here. His real home address is down near Ohio.
Nice.
And what are we supposed to do with this?
Leave him alone. That's what you should do.
But of course my tax assessor is going to say, Eric, I went out there. He's got 4 2-ton air conditioners outside of his house. I'm not stupid.
He likes to keep
cool.
cool.
What I mean? Like, she said, I think this is a failure. And
how is it a failure? Isn't he paying property taxes?
No, Jim, we could what if this to death? But the fact
that's not what if. I mean, he paid property taxes, right?
We're a nation of laws, and that's the bottom line. And your rights end.
Oh no, you're getting political here.
Of course, I'm getting political. That's what I do, man. No, that's what I do. But look, I mean, this another reason I wanted to create an ordinance is because we were getting a new code enforcer. And what I didn't want was.
What do you think of the pool?
Well, I'm just saying I didn't want to take on a new code enforcer and not be able to guide him and train him on a new ordinance. You know what I mean? And I don't want my colleagues to write an ordinance worse than me and then offer that up as a solution. Because then the rest of the board is going to think, oh yeah, Eric didn't do nothing. Yeah, that sounds great. We'll pass that. And of course, 2 trustees were willing to pass a more stringent ordinance, one that was atrocious, one that, a total invasion of privacy and rights and all that stuff. And I mean, like, do I want my code enforcer going around enforcing that kind of a strict policy? No. So I'm like, okay, let's just write one that makes sense, that I would want a code enforcer to treat the person with respect and a humble approach, not a aggressive approach per se, and making building a lowest law enforcement priority in that, and also having a backout clause at the end of the ordinance that allows for a disapproval appeal of anyone to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees then can override any decision made by the police department, fire department, code enforcer, building inspector, you name it. They can override any decision. That helps, and then that does 2 things. It helps the township back out of a bad scenario, and it also allows the individual not have to, hire an expensive attorney and go to court.
Still seems like an overreach to me.
You could say that, but I think that if you look carefully at the ordinance, you read the preface and the strong language in there, I think it really codifies the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act nicely. I think
what was wrong with the way that the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act codified itself?
It's because Jim, I would agree 100% with you with that, and studying this subject like I have, I know that. But at the same time, my colleagues don't know that. They don't understand that a voter referendum is different than a piece of legislation, and you can't just willy-nilly restrict it like you can a state law. And that's just the facts, and they don't know that, and so they're not trained that, they're not told that, they're not taught that. So so every township has just override this, and it'll be that way because nobody will challenge them, Jim. Nobody will challenge them, and then only those few people will get. Only the few bad actors that we're talking about anyway are the ones that are going to get wrangled up into those ordinances anyway. And occasionally the innocent 80-year-old lady like Judith Pontus, who they had no murder, who they had no mercy on.
Right, but what's a little collateral damage, right?
Right. Yeah, of course. That every township will look at it the same way. But in this case with my ordinance, what I wanted to do was completely craft something that was completely the opposite of what they were telling everybody to do under the DeRuyter decision. They wanted a zoning ordinance. I refused to do a zoning ordinance. Instead, I did a code enforcement ordinance.
I lost you. Did you ever answer the question that Jamie asked you about those things are already prohibited? And somebody, I don't know, like I know that you've got your justifications, and I know a lot of what you were doing, you would respond by saying, I know and I agree with what you're saying, but these other people don't know that, therefore I had to do this. So you moved in a direction, I mean, you tried to compromise, but you also, listen, it's not necessary, like I don't know. I mean, every time you make a it doesn't need to be compromised. You don't give into those rights. And the things that they're talking about are social issues, like whether or not they live there or not. The bigger issue is there's a problem with the lawn, or they're not taking their trash out, or those weeds all over the lawn. You can cite them for that, but nothing that was mentioned there is problematic. And just, and having someone that's your neighbor, first of all, was the house rented before someone came in there? Would the city rather have, or the village rather have residents renting, whether they're paying rental fees, whether they're whatever, and don't you want the person that owns the house to, if they're into real estate, to be able to rent the house to someone who they choose or someone that wants it? I mean, why does the government got to get fucking involved with that shit?
Okay, think about this. Jamie asked me the other day, like, wouldn't it be better to put something toward like community education? Well, in this particular situation, guys, what I really think this ordinance is exactly just that. It's community education. It's like saying, hey, we don't care if you do this, just here's a few little guidelines and a few things we don't want you to do, okay? And we don't want you to become a nuisance to your neighbor. Other than that, do what you want on your property. We're not going to say much to you.
Is there inspections? You know what I mean? Do they have to know that you're there? Do you have to tell them that you're there?
No.
Then how does this govern them?
It only governs a scenario that a discovery has been made upon, and in which case, the owner of the one property, when I approached him, I said, your neighbors really don't care if you grow here, my friend. It's just that you don't live here, and that's what they're upset about. There's no one that lives here, right? And then I asked him, and he said, no, I don't live here. I mean, he admitted to telling me that. I mean, he didn't have to tell me that.
That was his first mistake.
Well, of course. But look, I mean, and at the time, he didn't know that, divulging that information was going to be anything, any strike against him. Okay. But nonetheless, he admitted to it. And I said, look, that's the only thing the neighbors are really complaining about. That's it. I mean, they're kind of upset about your pool. And he was like, oh, sorry about that. Don't worry about that. I'll take care of the pool. And he did.
See?
And he took care of the grass, and he filled the trench in, and he took right. Okay.
Did the neighbors bother to go over there and ask him to do that shit?
But he also got someone living there.
Oh.
Okay. Within 30 days, he got someone living there. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when all those neighbors came to my township hall, all of their complaints had been nullified. All of their complaints just were, that's it. And then any further complaints that they had kind of fell on deaf ears.
Close it out.
Because, we're not going to restrict caregivers. We're not going to tell you can't grow in a garage or a pole barn. We're not going to tell you can't upgrade your, amperage to your house. You know what I mean? So none of those things were restricting. Yeah. And so all those other things that the neighbors wanted restricted, we didn't do. So
theoretically, then, if I wanted to move to Thetford, I could find every place, like if I'm looking to purchase a home, I could drive through, find a map at the township office, and determine which of those areas are caregiver homes, so I can stay away from them. Is that what?
No,
what is going to happen?
There's no identification. There's no annual inspections. There's no preliminary authorization. There's no approval process. There's no planning commission application. There's no special use permit application.
What happens if you run afoul of the ordinance?
What's that, Jim?
So I violate the ordinance. What happens?
How do we know that?
You found out. You're wise to me, Eric.
Someone tipped you up.
I didn't cut my lawn. I didn't cut my lawn. And now everybody thinks I'm growing them.
Jim,
the back thing over
so
the
what? You don't cut your lawn. There's no lawn cutting. There's no lawn cutting law in Thetford Township.
All right. Well, I got a pool with a bunch of shitty water on it, and I live somewhere else.
No law against that, Jim.
I live somewhere else. You're wise to it, man.
There's mosquitoes.
What
no
happens?
law against that.
What's the penalty for violating the ordinance?
Oh, like if the one that in my township?
Right.
Yeah. It's a municipal civil infraction of not more than $500, but not on your first offense. The first offense is a warning. Second offense is $50. Third offense, $100. Fourth offense is not more than $500.
Right.
And municipal infractions cannot go above $500.
Too much government right there, baby. I'm not even listening anymore. Too much government.
Too much.
Hey, I don't like government either. I don't like government either, but we have it. We have it.
We got to shut it down.
If we were going to define,
we have government. I don't like the licensing process.
The government.
Eric's argument is a politician.
Oh my
Eric's
God.
argument is I agree with you. You're right, but this is how I had to do it. You're right. It shouldn't happen that way, but this is what I had to do because I'm a politician.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. I hate government. But I'm here and I'm making a lot of laws.
I am the government, bitch.
I hate government, but I hate government. We have too many laws, but I'm here to tell you how great this new law is that I just passed. I just want to point out this is what you call forked tongue. Forked tongue. You know, like that.
Look, I got thick skin. I can take that criticism all day. Okay. At the end of the day, you show me a piece of local legislation that's more favorable to caregivers, and I'll eat my shoe.
How about?
I'll tell you what it is. Ready? What are you wearing? Let me see the shoe. Let me see the shoe. Is it going to be with any kind of sauces or what? You want to hear about it or what? Because I'm about to lay it on you, brother. Get it up there. Let me see how your teeth are, because you're going to be ripping something off. What is it? Leather, plastic? What do you got? What are the shoes? You got probably some flip flops on or something, right in the house. What do you got? Come on.
Some Crocs.
Let's get them up there. Come on. You know the best local legislation.
I encourage anybody.
I'm doing it right now. Stop encouraging. I'm ready to step forward.
I'm encouraging anybody to write and pass an ordinance.
Oh, it's changed now. It's changed now. Listen,
bring it.
Are you going to eat it right now? Are you going to eat it, Eric? Here's the best legislation that exists. Well and beyond yours, the legislation that wasn't written.
That's right, boom.
That there was not a need for it.
Look,
that those
I
same protections already exist.
I wrote it,
and they don't have this other that exists. What are your shoes, and how are they going to go down? I'll tell you what.
If Eric's ordinance stopped other people from other ordinances that really don't have lowest level enforcement and other things like that in it. I mean, if it really does stop that shit from happening in real life, then it's okay. I'm just still like the idea that Eric actually thinks that not living there is a problem. That's what I was getting at.
And look, guys, I didn't come to that decision lightly. Okay, I didn't just it took me all summer to write that ordinance. I mean, from May until.
How many nights did it keep you up?
A lot.
At what point did you decide that it was socially unacceptable in the contract between you and your constituents that someone living there and using the house, or not living there but using the house to grow marijuana, was something that needed to be legislated away, or was
morally objectionable?
Here's the best part. Okay, if that restriction does not work for you, there is an appeal disapproval process.
I don't want to be involved in your stupid local.
Why do we want to spend so much money
that coming down into some little stanky, local fucking legal shit fucking crap with people making their own fucking rules is a place anyone wants to be? I mean, give me a break. You've created the fucking quagmire of nightmareness. You ever see that?
Legislative.
You ever see that?
I'm not trying to live next to a field of greens and some mosquitoes. those in a poll?
You ever see the episode? Saturday Night Live is called like Main Law. It's hilarious.
Hey, we got Jamie Lowell. We got Jamie Lowell right here, right now. Why didn't we allow 72 plants under Prop 1 for recreational? Why did we just limit everybody to 12?
Because it's for the one individual. It's not your girlfriend or anybody else.
Well, at the time, I'm not sure if it still is, but at the time, it was the most. I think 6 per individual, but you could have. I don't know. I really don't know. It was what was negotiated, but it was still at the forefront of what was allowed nationally at the time.
Yeah.
What I personally suggested was unlimited. Because you can say unlimited all day long, but the reality is you can only grow for the amount of space and resources that you have at the house.
Right, but why? Right, but why did we limit somebody that has more property just to 12 when they could grow easily 50, 60, 70 plants and it wouldn't be a problem for that person?
Right, I agree.
Because it would have been an issue.
But the big money interests wouldn't prove that. We were at the table with everybody.
There was external factors that weighed in on it. I get it. Okay, and I mean, look, both on a competitive level from the industry, but also on a reasonable, sensible, logical side of things from a residential perspective. Also, guys, I mean, the whole key is that to this conversation is zoning. I'm just saying there are limitations to our freedom. I get it. And what I try to do is minimize the impact that it would have in the community. And what is the difference between
The Planet Green Trees Show.
When you're charged with a crime, you need a real attorney. And here's just a few reasons why. The police, the courts, the labs, the drug tests, probation, the judges, the jails, the prisons, and the entire system is just one big machine. They have one objective: take your freedom, take your possessions, take your money, take your children, control your life, and destroy your future. You only get one chance to hire the right attorney. One that will stay in your corner. One that will fight for your rights. One that will fight for your freedom. Choose an attorney that's experienced in fighting the justice machine. Attorney Michael Komorn. Knockout victories one case at a time. Komorn Law. Google it. komornlaw.com.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
Hi, I'm attorney Michael Komorn of Komorn Law PLC, and you are watching Planet Green Trees.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today, michiganmedicalmarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. michiganmedicalmarijuana.org.
Before you plead, call me attorney Michael Komorn.
An important and historical farm crop in American agriculture is returned after having been classified as a controlled substance and illegal. On December 20th, 2018, the President signed the Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, Cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, it has been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry, so come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.
I am Earl from G3 Cannabis Therapy Network, and you are watching Planet Green Trees, the original and #1 podcast in Michigan for all things cannabis and legal news.